managed to garner and then keep track of Gemini. But now game 3, what is the adjustment, especially for Machi?
All right, so it is going to be Machi opting to stay on the blue side, as they did have side selection after losing game 2. They're going to start things off here with a Senna ban. Meanwhile, the Elise once again banned away from Gemini, as well as the Trundle away from River.
This is going to be different. This is the first time Trundle is going to get banned. For Machi, do you still want to give away the Callista? Because that can, for Talon, it's not like they pick the Callista Taric at first rotation. Usually that's the last pickup before they go on to the second banning phase. For Machi, what AD carry are you going to pick up as Varus is locked out?
As well as the Aphelios here by Talon, and Talon themselves might say, hey, you know what, we want to go ahead and not allow you to even take away the Callista here from Unified, and now what's left on the table when it comes to AD carries, it's pretty much going to be maybe the Misfortune lock-in here for Machi.
This is looking more like the first few weeks of the PCS, where a lot of the, especially the former LMS teams, would place a high priority on towards this Misfortune. Set is open though, so for Talon, they can actually take this away and give that to Hanabi, or perhaps pick something else and get that Ornn instead.
Well, the Hanabi Ornn has been kind of one of his go-tos. It allows him to apply a lot of CC during the fights and, you know, just be a general disruptor to the rest of the team fights taking place there. And now for Talon, do they want to show the Xayah pick immediately here? They do want to probably take up their AD carry in the first rotation, but no, they're going to opt to possibly pick up the Rakan, which has been a go-to pick here for Kaiwing.
Yeah, Kaiwing has been phenomenal on towards this Rakan pick. Although, you know, there's not going to be... We'll see if Machi decides to pick up the Braum to at least deny any sort of Call of the Forge God, at least. But we'll have to see what they decide to pick up. I'm actually very surprised not seeing a Bard just yet, and as well as a Tahm Kench so far in this whole series. But we'll have to see, as PK might pick up this Aatrox once again.
Aatrox here for PK wouldn't be out of the question. It's been one of his main pickups throughout the course of the spring split. Like you mentioned though, for Machi, what do they wish to lock in before we head into our next ban phase? If you leave open the support option, it means that, like you mentioned, the Kench can be banned out. You could also possibly lose out on the Braum pickup as well. Do they want to try and put priority to another lane, possibly? Do they want to try and get Gemini's pick before it gets banned out? The fact that the Elise and Trundle have already been taken away in this draft, and that might be the case here with this Jarvan Hubbard.
And we were talking about how we wanted to see more of Gemini when it comes to the early game, and he was on the Sejuani earlier. Barely felt only towards objectives, which is understandable since they were playing more of the 5v5s. But now because of this Jarvan, you can tell that there may be a lot of action here and there when it comes to that first 10 minutes of the game. And with that, for me, I'm looking forward to the Thresh for Koala. That's still sitting at around 100% win rate for him. So perhaps that could be banned out by Talon.
Well, we do get to see the Xayah getting locked in once again. We get that lovers duo down in the bot lane for Talon, which has been one of their more clutch pickups that they've been having in the back pocket, especially in Game 5 against AHQ. Unified became similar to what we saw in the most previous game, where he just became an absolute monster and was well protected by the rest of the composition of Talon, and it's already showing the early signs of that as we see the Nollis ban come out here on the side of Talon, as well as the Kindred being banned out by Machi.
I wonder if Machi decides to ban another jungler, perhaps, as Rek'Sai still open for the taking for River. Maybe we're gonna see that Lee Sin once again for those red side steals on the Baron, perhaps, or maybe the typical Olaf, because Olaf has been that common pickup if they want to try and make it snowball. But when it comes to previous pickups, he hasn't actually played Olaf before River.
Interesting that Talon have decided to opt out of, not banning the Braum. Instead, you're going to go ahead and ban the Yuumi, especially considering there's the Call of the Forge God counter that you can always have, as a counter. Meanwhile, though, Jungle Pool really being targeted toward River. They're going to get rid of the Kindred as well as the Rek'Sai. Does mean his Lee Sin is available. Maybe, though, Machi are feeling confident trying to play up against that, considering what happened in Game 1.
That is true. And he's never played Olaf before either on the previous, on the regular split. So you're right, it could be the fallback towards the Lee
Oh,
Sin.
hell yeah, let's go. We get ourselves the set lock in, and now things get a little bit juicy. So set can be flexed in many, many different positions. And that means we might also see a set in mid lane here for Candy. We can see an Ornn in mid lane, or we could even set, crazy as it sounds, a set jungle as well, as the Messiah composition coming online here for Talon. They like to bleed Crimson. Well, they seem to like to play it as well. Azir, though, is going to get locked in once again here for Machi.
That's the third time around. We were talking about what jungle pickup or what support would Machi decide to pick, as Morgana will be for Koala, and this will be the first time that Koala is going to pick this up. And meanwhile for Talon, the last pick will paint us a very clear picture where this set is going to go. And it's in the jungle.
All right, so does that mean we get ourselves a set jungle? Talon, you're crazy mad lads if it's going to get locked in here. Cassidy also for Candy would be a bit of a change up, but no, it is actually going to be a LeBlanc. That means we have ourselves a set jungle, the first one in the PCS. I always kid that set can, quadruple flexed, but I guess we're finally going to get to see it.
I love it. We didn't mention about Talon's confidence, but this is really nice to see after managing to break that win streak away from Machi, and now they're on that set jungle. Again, you mentioned this is the first time we're going to see it. Meanwhile, Machi opting to a little bit more standard. They're a little bit more comfy. I guess the new thing for Machi would definitely be this Morgana pick, as Koala hasn't picked this up in the entirety of the group stages. So for now, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I'm interested for Talon. This is a gutsy composition that you're going to actually be using here, considering we've not seen the set pretty much ever in the jungle when it comes to the PCS. It's our first time. And for Machi, this is a bit more of a, I think, more comfortable composition for them. They're not being forced to play onto the Kaisa. Instead, they opted into the Misfortune, which was available in Game 2, but they decided to go against it. And you also have that Black Shield from the Morgana to keep Bruce safe during some of these fights. So the question becomes, is Machi going to be able to close out this game fast enough, or can Talon hold the charge? And then you get into the late game with the ornaments as we load onto the Rift here for our third game of our semifinal.
It's a 1-1 right now, and Machi has to live with this idea that right now their win streak is over. They don't seem like gods anymore after that second game of the series, and I'm looking forward to see their performance now that this is the first time in a whole lot while that they've managed to taste defeat. Especially we see Missions back at the Azir for the third time in the series.
In we go here for our third game. I'm interested in what has River opted to go for. He's gone Mana Flow ban. Okay. I was wondering if he'd go the Mana Flow ban or the Predator. Usually I think we see a little bit more Predator come out from the jungle, but I'm a little bit unsure when it comes to the exact playstyle of what River is planning to do here. This is more of a solo queue thing we've seen a couple times that pops up in competitive play, so we'll keep track of what this set is up to in the jungle.
Yep. And considering the biggest weakness of a set is definitely trying to start the fights, and basically you have to manually walk towards your target and get that face breaker. But with the assistance of the lanes, you have Kaiwing to start with the grand entrance, you have Candy with the chains, and for Hanabi you got that knockoff too. So everything is in check in terms of starting the fights, and looks like Machi will just remove a couple of wards here and there.
Alright, so it's actually more custom. It is going to be the Mana Flow ban that we see a little bit more in solo queue. And this is pretty much, River is going to just scale into a bit of a CC tank bot. That's pretty much his one job. But the invade early here coming out from the side of Gemini and PK, and Hanabi actually going down to about half health. Is enough, though, to draw the attention of Machi away from the red buff, and River should be able to take that now uncontested.
Yeah, Hanabi has to go back to lane with a little bit of HP deficit, and I think Machi will take that little bit of victory at least. And with the blue start coming from Gemini, it's going to match the pace of where River's direction is going to be. And I feel like the first gank would most likely go at bot side, but because of that Black Shield, Grand Entrance knockoff isn't exactly going to be there, so perhaps Koala could be that vulnerable target.
And toward this bot lane, Bruce and Koala are going to be pushing away as much as they can. into the tower. Try and slow down Unified early. I'm interested to see if we're going to see a lot of attention from Gemini, especially considering we wanted to see it more in Game 2. Especially in this game, if you want to try and, you know, shut down Unified before that level 6, that's kind of the playstyle that we did see from AHQ back in Game 5 in their last series, where Unified was shut down very early, but they were able to drag the game by its heels and keep him alive in the late part. We'll see what the plan is here.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that actually. We did mention before the start of the series, we're looking forward to, the theme of the whole playoffs is dive bot constantly. Especially, you know, there's a lot of trust when it comes towards Unified, most especially when the mid to late game comes. And with that, we'll see if Machi decides to create pressure and maybe perhaps set up a dive, as we see Gemini already making his way down at bot.
Yeah, Mission able to get himself to safety. You saw what the plan was there from Candy and River. Candy was looking to land a chain. Good follow-up from River, can really do some damage onto Mission, but he gets himself to safety. Doesn't have a whole lot of mana though. Is sitting on a corrupting pot. Meanwhile, let's see here, Gemini may sneak his way through the mid lane, not going to be spotted out by any of the minions, so nice job there. Candy wants to get aggressive, lands the chain onto Mission, doesn't know that Gemini's around the corner, that's going to be a knock-up immediately. In comes River though with the face breaker, Candy flashing forward, Mission though is able to survive, Gemini able to find first blood as Candy gets a little bit too greedy, trying to finish off the kills underneath the tower.
Oh dear, and again, because of that shield from the Shifting Sands, really did help out Mission there, try to survive, but Kaiwing, that's going to be a teleport though, coming from Candy.
Yeah, Candy forced to use his teleport immediately in the matchup. Maybe not the most optimal. We'll take another look here, as it was just really good pathing from Gemini not to be caught out by the minions.
Yeah, managing to sneak his way out, and especially reading the game right, as they are expecting another gank coming from River after that first one didn't really pan out well. I mean, it was a great bait. Mission didn't have mana at that time as well, so enough mana. So props to Machi for reading that.
Not a bad start here for the third game in the series, as Machi now find themselves up by about 800 gold. The spot lane, not a whole lot of action. We'll see whether or not Gemini wishes to occupy that, or if we're just going to see all the action onto the top side of the map. We've already seen the ganks here in mid lane from both jungles. River, once he hits level 6, I think we'll see him a little bit more. As that's when you get that showstopper, and that's when you can be a little bit more impactful.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially carrying the Hex Deck Flash, at least you can be creative on where you can enter the fights, and makes you at least
Ought to be.
But
A little bit. You gotta be careful here. This is the issue when you're going up as an Ornn against any, you know, non-resource champion. Is PK can just wait on his cooldowns and then go for the all-in. Hanabi, if he wants to trade back, you're using up mana, and unfortunately there in the early game, the base stats just don't do enough to trade back, especially with PK running the Conqueror. Gets himself a lot of life back during the little skirmishes.
And with that, Machi does have teleport advantage. Dragon has already spawned, so with that, you can see that Gemini already sort of lingering around and pinging that part of the map. And yeah, you're right, it's for River. Well, maybe a lot of action when it comes to that level 6. Hex Flash will be that initiation tool to close the gap at least and activate that movement speed to get you to fully do your job as that CC bot, just as you mentioned.
Oh, here we go. Conby, though, finds himself a good knock-up and gets a level 6. Really good timing. PK forced to now use his flash. In comes River, though, over the side of the wall, and that's Talon with a preset play. Haymaker lines him up and shuts him down. River makes his entrance in top lane.
And we did mention you can get creative with your ganks, with your pathing when you want to enter the lane, and that is just definitely one of those things with a Hex Flash enabled for River, and that was actually really, really good for Talon.
Yeah, and this is again, a PK doesn't necessarily have to push this wave into the tower to get anything back, so Talon are able to exploit the fact that he's getting a little bit too aggressive, trying to get a little bit too much out of the free teleport that he actually got out of Hanabi, and now that advantage isn't in favor of Machi. Obviously, there isn't really anything to really contest on the map for the next 4 minutes or so, as he is top lane, but now Gemini possibly looking for a dive here towards the bot lane. Kaiwing is going to spot out the fact that his ward's getting taken here. Binding does not connect, so that will be the call made not to go for the dive here, as Bruce is level 6.
Good news, at least for Machi, they have managed to get the first Infernal Drake of the game, and just right in time as well to get that reset and possibly rotate your AD carry towards this Rift Herald, so they are able to contest that. But at the same time, you know, there's still pressure on bot side.
Oh, PK, this is a little bit of an unfortunate place to be. He gets caught back over by the Blast Cone and now has to try and juke away from Candy. Unfortunately, he will get taken down here as Candy picks up his first kill, and that's just some good pathing coming out from River as PK was trying to get really greedy and actually steal away the Krugs.
Yeah, nicely done. Coming from Talon, taking advantage of that path. Coming from PK. He has done this before, actually, I believe, on the red buff on the first game. Unfortunately, doesn't have exactly priority in the mid lane, so with that mission is unable to help and join. And with that said, you know we've seen LeBlancs go crazy in games before.
There we go. It's going to be a kill going over to Candy to get the ball rolling for him. And as well, River on this set gets himself some objective control and is able to secure the Rift Herald as he'll use that Hex Flash to make his way over through the jungle once again. Gemini still looking for this dive here, has level 6. Another Dark Binding is not going to connect. Unify actually has Featherstorm available, and Bruce is now caught out. Luckily for him, Unified and Kaiwing decide not to continue the chase. A bullet time going to be used just to clear the wave here, and it seems a little bit, you know, panicky coming out here from the side of Machi, exactly what they want to do with this play.
Exactly, and because Koala still does not have level 6, so Morgana's ult still not available. It's not like you can flash and walk in with that binding. And Machi is heavily relying on that binding to connect before the flag and drag is going to be used for that initiation. So too bad though, Kaiwing already used his grand entrance, so that's going to be something that was baited out at least. But for now, Machi doesn't want to make too much mistakes earlier on.
There we go, as you see Candy getting a little bit aggressive there, wants to try and get some decent poke onto mission. Candy absolutely loves his LeBlanc, so see him confident in this matchup, especially considering that he had himself some good plays last week in the H2 series. He didn't have a really good game 2, I believe he was on the LeBlanc, but in game 3 and game 4, that's where he really shone. And now Talon wants to make the play. Mission though with a good Emperor's Divide, able to separate back a fight. Koala now wants to rejoin. Unfortunately, minions in his way, he can't really go for a Dark Binding, and that should be enough to at least force the play to back off.
Either this could be another dive towards PK. This is going to be very scary, and actually, he's already on his way to his 3rd death.
Oh, here we go. Call the Fort God into the Rift Herald as well. Unfortunately for PK, there's not really anywhere he can go. He's just getting tossed around at this point. And Hanabi's the one that's tanking the tower, and that's a beautiful dive coming out from Talon as they're able to crack open the first tower of the game.
100% confident from Talon. I like it. And again, with the set pickup, just opens a lot of avenues. And right now, that's going to be at least remove that eye so that the second charge will not be produced. But here, as you can see, Rift Herald activated, knock-up initiated, and there's just all the CCs in the world for 0 outplay potential from PK.
Knock-up initiated. Long have we waited. Talon have been activated, but now Machi want to try and shut that down as Hanabi maybe stayed a little bit too long in the lane. The red buff not able to do a whole lot. There you go. It does actually time out from Gemini as it's going to force out a flash off the Cataclysm. Still looking for a dive here though, possibly. Machi not able to pick off this lone Ornn in the top side of the map.
Yeah, at least I think for Machi they'll take that small victory of burning Hanabi's flash at least. But at the same time, you know, the exchanges, since you've invested to at least get a return kill on the enemy top laner, Dragon is open. And again, this has been the trend of a 1-1 exchange at the first, 10 minutes of the game for this Dragon. And I feel like the next Rift Herald will be that explosive 5v5 fight we've been waiting for.
And there it is. It's also Dragon secured there by Talon. Nice double up coming out from Bruce though. Gets a decent little chunk of damage. I believe now we get ourselves a little bit of a waiting game. Whether or not we're going to have any action on the map is a good question. River, though, whew, this guy is everywhere, it seems, and he should be able to sneak himself around the alcove if he really wants to. Yeah, he's able to get over. Oh, Koala doesn't know.
Uh-oh.
River has set up a trap. Lane will push back. You can tell something's up here if you're on the side of Machi. All right, they see the ward now. Maybe that's going to give them a little bit of safety. As now they're going to position themselves a little bit aggressive. Now that they finally see the shadow, though, coming out, though, from River, it may be a little bit too late. Bullet time comes down, and that's a decent amount of damage. Koala, though, is able to survive somehow, and now an engage comes back from Gemini. Does not have Cataclysm available, though, nor does he have mana to follow up with any more damage.
Look at Koala's HP bar. I think that's just around, I don't know, 5 to 10 HP left. And for Talon, they would have hoped that they managed to at least get a return kill, or rather a kill after burning so much and investing so much. But unfortunately, you know, Gemini was also around the corner. And I think a few summoner spells have been burnt, but the AD carry flashes are still intact.
So, summoners still available for both of our AD carries, so we may see some action. Taking a look though at items, you got Nasher's Tooth completed here for mission, as turret plating is going to be following about 30 seconds. Candy getting aggressive. Still waiting on his Ludens to be complete here, as he's got the Lost Chapter and Blasting Wand in hand. And that's the one thing here for Talon, is you're going to have the ornaments that come online later throughout the course of the game, where if Machi aren't able to get themselves a decent gold lead in the early portion of this match, the just natural efficiency that'll come out from these ornaments, it makes it really hard to come back into the game. So Machi, though, playing, I think, on even footing, I would like to see Gemini apply more pressure on the map with his Jarvan.
Yeah, and I think that is what happened at game number 2, where we don't really feel the presence of Gemini when it comes to relieving pressure across the maps. And for now, I think Gemini is definitely satisfied trying to just counter jungle River at the moment and wait for objectives and start to fight from there. And I feel like it's very difficult to catch Unified, especially he's at level 6, level 9 already. So the Feather Storm is just going to be key when it comes to escaping the fights. And you have Kaiwing too to back all of that safety up.
Yeah, because for Machi, you're going to be mainly looking for a fight once Bruce has his second crit item. He's already finished off his his Essence Reaver. As, a nice little bit of damage coming back down. You do see Gemini and River both hunting toward the bot side of the map.
Yeah, I think what Talon, or rather what Machi wants to do, is try to set up bot side and just eliminate that tower just right in time for the dragon to spawn, and just in time that they can get a huge chunk of gold, get that reset, buy some items, and then go to that dragon pit. And with that said, it's still pretty much even in terms of gold, actually. But for now, mission.
Mission's got to be a little bit careful, but Talon might be collapsed on if they're not careful. They are a little slippery themselves, though, as both Candy and Kaiwing can get themselves away from the fight. That is the flash burn, though, on the LeBlanc. You can see now that Candy does have his first item complete, the Luden's Echo. He can get a decent chunk of poke damage. River flashing forward. Oh, no, he ends up ulting the poor Morgana, but she has a black shield, so River not able to really pick her up. No damage comes through, and that's a bit of a failed engage coming out there on the side of Talon.
Yeah, I think that is, again, the weakness of the set. Have to expend a lot, have to expend your Hex Flash as well when you want to just try to close the gap a little bit, but at the same time, there's not a lot of options after that. At the same time, though, good for Machi that at least they baited out the Showstopper just right in time for the Cloud Drake to spawn in a few 30 seconds or so. But they have to be careful because Candy is on the LeBlanc, Luden's already completed, so now Koala has this choice of expending that black shield early to mitigate the damage or mitigate the CC.
We see River's already set up, so a decent little line of vision I think will be established. The fact that Hanabi also has priority in the bot lane is a good sign as well, as PK is forced to deal with that. Pings will come out, and it should be a live Cloud Drake here for Talon, which I don't really see the side of Machi trying to answer, as Gemini is actually trying to get the Rift Herald in response.
Yeah, it seems to me it's going to be that exchange, since I feel like Machi, again, just as you mentioned, not comfortable just yet, especially Bruce For the bullet time, not gonna deal as much damage as expected. But for Talon though, really nice job, especially Hanabi with the split push, managed to really pressure top and bot.
There we go. Rift Herald instant hand for Machi, so what are they going to be able to do with it on the map? We've been kind of waiting for this team to actually try and go for a fight. You have the combo of the lockdown with the Cataclysm into the bullet time. Well, unfortunately, like, Talon's just comp naturally has so many tools for a disengage or getting away from terrain, like a LeBlanc and a Rakan. And then you also have to factor in the Featherstorm that makes Unified invulnerable for a couple seconds. So it's a tough fight to pull off. They need to bait out a couple of cooldowns. We'll see whether or not Machi can do that, as the game is pretty much stalled out here at 18 minutes, 1-3 in kills.
Yeah, agreed. There's so much repositioning on Talon's side when it comes to just avoiding big AoEs, such as, you know, the bullet time, and as well as Koala's ult on the Morgana. So it will heavily rely on Candy. I'm scared for Mission.
Mission gets chained down, is able to get out of range. So Candy doesn't pull the trigger on using his Mimic. Either way, though, Talon going to go ahead, get the pressure in mid lane, forcing Machi to have to respond. Nothing really to fight on the map, though, for the next couple of minutes, so it's just going to be a farm game, unless you're getting caught out like this. Gemini able to get the flag drag. There is River nearby, though, if he wants to try and go for a play. Has Hex Tech Flash available. If you wanted to go over the wall and try and make a surprise as they're trying to sneak away this blue buff, not going to happen, though.
Yeah, still have a lot of respect, still, as Binding will not connect. But yeah, I feel like for Machi, they will actually be satisfied with this, considering that they actually got priority over at bot side. You have actually a very decent amount of gap between the AD carries, with Bruce winning the CS lead. And therefore, it's not completely the same as what happened earlier. Again, we did mention if you want to win against Machi, you have to have a huge amount of gold lead. But Bruce managed to have a really nice and comfy laning phase, and I feel like that is the scary part. And for now, I feel like Candy is that answer to burst down Bruce, and I feel like Bruce should be careful when it comes to the dragon dances that we're going to be seeing later in a few minutes.
Yeah, because for Machi, the window for them to try and, you know, get themselves a bit of a gold lead is starting to shrink rapidly. The fact Hanabi's actually finished off 2 of his upgraded items, now that he's level 13, he can start looking toward other teammates on his squad. You have Unified that's going to have his IE probably in the next 3 to 4 minutes. He can look to try and upgrade that if he wanted to. He could also upgrade the Luther's Echo for Candy, or he might wait for the LeBlanc to go into a 3rd item Rabadons. And once those points are hit, it's really difficult for Machi to be equal in any of these fights.
Exactly, and there's a lot of threat, actually equally, not a lot of threat for both sides, since they've been equally farming and letting them do their own business, as well as Machi actually having that small lead when it comes to the map control and as well as priority. Now unleashing the Rift Herald, so that's going to be a huge chunk of charge on this inner tower in the mid lane.
River nearby. Unfortunately, that Rift Herald is still going to get the charge off. Unified and Kaiwing are able to at least prevent the tower from going down, but the next wave that crashes in might be the opportunity. As Candy almost getting knocked up there, gets a nice chunk onto Mission with a little bit of poke, but see Machi at least trying to get a hard siege in, but they gotta be careful. If they get poked down here, they might be in a bit of difficulty, as Dark Binding does land on Kaiwing. It is a line of scrimmage right here at the 2nd tier tower.
And Mission, take note, has Banshees. There's a fight.
Oh, but that was a beautiful binding onto Kaiwing, so that's the engage away from the Rakan. Still a decent little bit of poke coming out from Candy. Koala clutch there, getting a Dark Binding, actually prevented the rest of the team of Talon wanting to go on in. Turret, though, does not fall. It is the Azir tower in mid lane instead that's going to crumble, and Machi not able to secure a 2nd tier tower off the Rift Herald.
Yeah, beautifully done by Machi, especially Koala, managing to stop the aggression from Talon. And yeah, just as I mentioned, it's a Banshee's already completed for Mission, so this slows down the burst a little bit coming from the side of Candy. So now this LeBlanc has to shift targets and most likely try to reach for Bruce. Here's the Dark Binding that really canceled the ult of Kaiwing to go in a full-on engage, and at this point, you know, tower's about to fall. They have control over this dragon, but it seems to me Machi decided to go for that reset.
Okay, so you see here, upgrade coming in onto Loon's Echo from Ornn from Hanabi. So Candy is going to have a little bit of a spike here. There's an opportunity. So we'll see whether or not they're going to try and contest this. Unfortunately for them, they don't have any position. Bad back timings end up costing them here the second Cloud Drake, because it's going to get secured here by Machi to equal out the totals of 2 of these.
And for Machi, actually for both teams, they will opt to focus on getting vision more on this Baron area, just in case that they manage to get a few here and there, rather. Able to just head straight towards this Baron later on, as it is the next juicy target available on the map. Koala sitting on the ward, though, as they'll try to deward as much as they can.
Machi here have an okay opportunity. The fact that Bruce has IE before Unified does for a possible fight around the Baron may be their window of opportunity to try and accelerate a gold lead and try and slow down Talon, and then they can try and close out this game. Looks like for them, they're not going to try and set her up around this. A lot of pings, but only little skirts of vision here and there in the jungle of Talon doesn't give them enough information.
Yeah, and for Machi, they've managed to at least install a little bit of deep ward over at that red area, red buff area. So for Talon, they will be spotted eventually if they hang out a little bit there in that portion of the map. For Mission, though, at least he does have that Banshee, so that's a little bit of saving grace when Candy attempts a full burst.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult now for Candy to try and get the burst down. He's going to show himself, just wants to clear the wave, it seems, as he can't really do much with that Banshees being completed by Mission. As long as he's able to keep that up for the fights and avoid getting poked down, it's going to be rather difficult for Candy to find his target.
Exactly, so Bruce would be the next vulnerable target. There's not a lot of defense on the side of Bruce. We'll heavily rely on the Black Shield to try and mitigate damage, since there's pure damage on his itemization. One more auto will finish the job, and that's still 3 minutes for the next dragon, though. PK will spot out Hanabi, gonna be scaring him away a little bit.
Hanabi's not afraid to trade back a little, scratch for a scratch, as River's going to pass through. Candy still trying to apply pressure here on a Mission, at least pops the Banshees, but immediately off cooldown. The Zir Tower stands in mid lane and continues to apply little bits of pressure here and there onto Talon as they're forced to just continue the farm game.
Yeah, when it comes to the lanes, though, Mission and Bruce do have a significant CS lead when it comes to their counterparts. But just as you mentioned, at least you have that Luden's upgrade coming from Hanabi to sort of bridge that gap that we mentioned. But now Machi has been applying vision towards the Baron area, as they've been trying to find picks here and there, as you can see from Koala earlier, trying to get that binding. Unfortunately, Talon is just very extra cautious right now.
Extra cautious, but you do see that Unified has actually finished off his IE, so that's going to be a Molten Edge, likely the next upgrade for Hanabi. So it does allow the Xayah to kind of stay in line with Misfortune. It just becomes whether or not Bruce is able to get himself a really good bullet time during these fights. And both of these teams, it looks like we're going to get set up for this game where it gets decided simply by one Baron or one Dragon fight here past the 30-minute mark, as neither team really wants to be aggressive. They don't want to be the one to make that call that could end up costing them the game.
And I believe that happened before. That happened in the very first game that they've played against each other. Gold was equal, kills were equal, and it all came down to that Baron fight, which Talon managed to win with River stealing that Baron. And that's the reason why both teams are cautious, because at this point, since it's kind of close to equal, and now you see that upgraded Infinity Edge as well on towards Unified, so for sure, equal respect. So at this point, we'll have to see who pulls the trigger first and starts an objective, which, more or less in a minute, which is the Air Drake is about to spawn soon.
All right, so a little bit of a cheeky buy pickup here from Unified. He wanted to get a cloak really quickly. I was a bit concerned there as Talon had multiple members back off. That does allow Machi to get a bunch of vision down in around this Baron if they wish to, and with that, they get control back over the pit, as Talon aren't really doing a whole lot other than just kind of sitting in the mid lane waiting for these waves to crash. No real vision down around the Dragon. Hanabi does have position, though, if he wishes to put some down, but he doesn't even have a control ward. Ends up using it into the River Brush, if anything, and a decent chunk of damage if Bruce is able to get an auto attack onto Candy.
What? That's a lot. That's a lot of soldier autos. That's gonna hurt a lot. Morello already completed for mission, and you at least have that defensive item on your side with that Banshees. So it's gonna scare Candy a little bit. And look at that. He's less than half HP right now. Machi is definitely looking for a fight. You know, Candy does have teleport though, so that is something.
Teleport going to be used here by Candy on the ward put down by Hanabi. River wants to jump into the middle of the pit. They're able to steal away the Baron immediately. Now here comes the rest of Talon though over toward the side. They get on top of Gemini and they're able to take him down. Call the Forge God finds a target onto multiple members. The bullet time does some damage, but not enough. But still, the auto attack starting to rain in. Unfortunately for Unified, has to use his Featherstorm a bit late onto the fight. Hanabi wants to maybe try and turn this around. He gets the knock up, but he's just going to try and sacrifice himself. But the rest of Machi are going to press forward across the jungle, and Unified, the poor Zaya, is left alone. And unfortunately, Talon, the priorities during the team fight just aren't there as they lose out. Able to secure the Cloud Drake, but lose members.
This has happened before though. Some of the objectives are stolen away from Gemini, but it don't matter in this scenario as Machi is able to just overwhelm Talon with damage, as Talon was quite half and half in that fight since they really do want to secure that dragon, and it paid off in the end.
Secure the dragon, but we saw there, oh no, Candy.
Oh,
he got
dear.
rooted on his distortion. Koala with a decent binding, able to find a target. And the fact that there's no major poke going to be available here for Talon, they can just easily go ahead and start up this Baron. Kaiwing is forced to have to back off, and like that, Machi now Baron buff in hand at 29 minutes.
What a wild turn of events. And just when you think that it was over already for Machi to find more kills, that Dark Binding just to aim towards the distortion really worked well in their favor. Let's take a look at this replay again. It was Hanabi that managed to steal this dragon, but at the same time, Gemini was in the middle of the pit. Machi's backline was in a prime position to just free hit without having the fear of the AD carry getting towards damage in the backline. So at this point, even though Gemini has fallen from battle, a lot of people are low on Talon's side already.
And unfortunately, like you saw there, Unified wasn't able to get a single auto attack off during that fight after Gemini just went full force onto him. He had to, again, exhaust his Featherstorm a bit late. He didn't even have to blow a flash or a barrier. So Unified, I felt like him and Kaiwing were a bit disconnected from the rest of the fight, especially early, where they were like, we don't really want to fight. We're not feeling comfortable, but, you know, the set, Hanabi, all went in, got themselves a dragon, but then the rest of the team is like, okay, I guess we'll try and fight and maybe go even, I guess.
Yeah, the positioning was didn't really enable Unified to deal to do AD carry things. So for Machi, they'll be satisfied with that. And you see the damage coming from the side of Mission and Bruce, and Talon is going to get overwhelmed with this push.
All right, Talon, how do you defend your base? Still 5 members up. There is the choke point here that they could maybe look for a Call to the Forge God combo. Unfortunately, push is too much. The siege goes through, and that's going to be the inhibitor tower falling, as Talon are going to have to concede that, as well as now the inhibitor in bot lane going down just past 30.
And we did mention that it's going to be, Bruce will be the vulnerable target, but now you got your Bloodthirster, at least you have that extra shield. Now Talon, if they want to pull the trigger, they should do it soon, considering that Machi is slowly whittling the base of Talon at this point, taking advantage of the few seconds the Baron is left on board. I thought that fighting was going to hit, but thankfully, Kaiwing is a little bit mobile on this Kaiwing pick, on this Rakan pick.
Meanwhile, though, PK is just going to go ahead and push up the top lane. There's nothing that Talon are really doing, and there's a bunch of freestanding gold on the map that's just being taken here by Machi, as Hanabi has to watch this fall, and instantly Machi are able to find, again, another objective in their favor. And Talon, how much are you willing to concede when it comes to your base here? As here we go, Hex Flash being channeled. River wanted to go for a possible engage, but Talon, Candy gets absolutely bursted apart and has to back off to the rest of the base. Kaiwing pops his ultimate. Rest of the team able to disengage. They'll be able to get to Fountain to try and heal, but unfortunately that means that's another inhibitor falling, and now mid lane is being sieged upon by Mission.
This is wild. You saw Candy just wanted a distortion, get that combo in, but just get shredded by the soldiers.
There we go. Engage comes out from the call of the Forge God, but unfortunately River gets down the damage. They take down Mission. That's the Azir down. Bruce is still alive, trying to kite back, but Talon are able to find one of the prime targets on the side of Machi, also taking out Gemini, but they've lost all 3 inhibitors as Supers take down a Nexus Tower.
Yeah, Nexus Tower down. There is just 1/4 HP left on this last Nexus Tower. And with that said, for Talon had to sacrifice a lot just so that they're able to get at least 2 kills off of that and scare away Machi. And we did mention, gotta pull the trigger now because structures are falling, only 1 Nexus Tower left. And with that said, no Dragon Soul still for both of these teams, but I feel like Baron for later in the few minutes will be very juicy.
And the question becomes, like, did you wait too long to try and go for this play? You've lost pretty much everything in your base, and even then you're only just able to take down 2 carries where Bruce is still very healthy.
Exactly, and even then, Bruce did not have to burn Summoner Spell, so this Flash and the heal will be available if Talon starts an engage.
So with that, Machi, a 6,000 gold lead. Only 1 single tower remains in the base of Talon here in Game 3. Machi are looking to be able to pick up the hammer coming into Game 4 to maybe knock down Talon into the lower bracket. Hanabi over toward the right, looking to just clear out the wave the best he can. Engage comes out from PK, gets the chain back. He's going to get knocked up, but nice Emperor's Divide. He's able to find Hanabi. Now comes the Engage back over from Talon, trying to make the last-minute play. Call the Forge God is there. They take down the Azir, but PK on the front line is able to do enough damage to take down the set. And now poor Unified forced to use his Featherstorm. Bruce, though, finds the crits on his bullet time.
Whoa.
And there's the damage you're looking for. And like that, Machi close out the game and take Game 3.
I love the fact that Bruce flashed heal just to get a little bit more kills on his KDA, but it don't matter. Machi is able to pick themselves up after their loss against Talon in game number 2, and now they look very, very solid once again. And I am actually very, very happy to see, you know, them managing to pick themselves up after that loss.
Yeah, for Talon, it just became the fact that I think they waited maybe just a little bit too long when it came to this, you know, final hold, this final stand. Like, you had 3 opportunities to do so. They tried once in top lane, it didn't pay off. They were lucky they didn't get wiped just then. But the fact that didn't go well in their favor, they tried it again in mid lane, but everything was taken at that point, and the game's just too far gone.
Yeah, again, we did mention, we keep repeating this, if you want to win against Machi, make sure the gold lead is like around 10k, because I feel like they really needed Candy to get ahead on this LeBlanc. Unfortunately, I think there was only 1 to 2 kills early game, but it didn't really snowball. So supposedly this LeBlanc should be the answer to eliminate and burst Bruce when it comes to the team fights, but we didn't really see any of that because there's pressure created elsewhere by Gemini.
And that's something that we saw a lot during the AHQ series. It was often AHQ in their draft saying, you know what, do we think Candy is actually able to find the burst, find the prime member on our squad that is going to lead to Talon's victory? And again, we just didn't see it.
Yeah, and in this particular fight, Candy was not setting up for maybe a pincer or maybe a flank to just sneak his way towards the AD carries, considering that there was no threat actually on that side since Gemini and PK had to dive. So at that point, I suppose it's the early build on that Banshees. So you only had 1 target to actually try to burst down, which was Bruce.
Yeah, and even then you have Koala with the black shield from the Morgana that's always going to try and keep his carry alive. So with that, Machi are able to find the game victory over Talon and now take the series in their hands 2-1 with 1 more win. Are able to lock in their ticket into our grand final in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, props still to Talon for locking in that set in the jungle for the very first time in the PCS and at playoffs at that as well. But yeah, I mean, if they do drop in this series, at least they have that lower bracket to fall into. But of course, you do want to get that head start waiting in the finals. And as you have been, you know, having that 2-week gap at least to study and watch the rest of the matches progress. But right now, again, Machi looks a lot more solid. But what the previous game has proven is that the early game seems to be that small window where you can take advantage of if you want to win against Machi.
Yeah, I'm unfortunate here. Like, I like the idea that Talon were at least trying to be creative with their draft. We got to see the set that, you know, arguably at the beginning of the game looked pretty good. I wasn't going to lie. I was actually pretty excited to see how he was doing there. But then often a lot of the opportunities for Talon really got shut down a lot of the time from Koala, which is going to be picking up our MVP for Game 3, which, again, I don't know. I thought he had more assists than just 5 there. I could be wrong, though, but either way, he'll be pretty happy as he's able to take home the MVP alongside the win for Machi.
Yeah, a lot of key dark bindings to at least stop Kaiwing there from that engage from earlier, and as well as a lot of key black shields as well, just to deny any sort of aggression from Talon. And yeah, it's such a well-deserved win, especially again Morgana out of the blue, putting, you know, Kench and Thresh like out in the open there in that draft and putting that shining queen crown on towards this Morgana.
Yeah, so for him, he'll be able to take home the victory and the MVP. And now Talon have to face the fact that they may be getting knocked down into the lower bracket after just one more game. Whether or not they're going to be able to turn around the series is kind of the question. They were able to reverse sweep HQ. They were able to fight back and take game 2. But now it's seeming like we're starting to see a little bit of cracks in their armor when it comes to these drafts.
Yeah, I feel like they can make it when it comes to the draft, most especially if they make the early game count, if they keep pushing with it.
Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, though, it's going to be possibly our final game as Machi can take home the victory to lock in their ticket into our grand final.